Hello, I'm Natalia with Clockify, and today I'll be talking to Ben Cole, President at ERP Connect Consulting, and their experience with Clockify and work habits. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to talk with us. I'm Natalia, by the way, so I'll be doing this interview today. And why don't we start off with some light questions? For example, how would you describe yourself, and who is Ben Cole really in his personal and professional life?
Yeah, definitely. So I think there's a lot of overlap lately between the two. But in terms of my personal life, we'll start the interview off there. I love to golf and I love to go skiing. So I actually just got back from a ski trip last week, was up in Canada. Would say those are probably my two biggest hobbies. But outside of that, personally, I'm really excited. I'm getting married in June. So that's exciting. And before my fiance and I started dating, we both had our own pets. They're actually both named Leo. So that's a fun fact about us. We've got a cat and a dog, and they both share the same name. So little personal fun facts about myself to get started here. And then in terms of my professional life, I'd say the biggest thing that overlaps in both is that I'm extremely busy. So whether it's trying to create new products or bring on new clients, or just trying to keep up with my personal life, definitely both very, very busy in those pieces. Got my start in the ERP space in 2016. So I know we'll get into a little bit more about what that is. Specifically started focusing on my product area, which is Business Central, in 2017. Worked at a large public accounting firm for 5 years, then worked for a smaller startup in Austin, Texas for 2, before starting my own company in the summer of 2021, which again, I know we'll get into, but our main focus is on building products and applications in the Microsoft realm in order to increase productivity and efficiency within the user experience in all these ERP platforms. So very excited for the rest of the interview, but if there's anything else that you want to know, please let me know. I'd be happy to share some more details there.
Sure. So you've just mentioned that when you started your own company. So what we've noticed is that a lot of people across industries often get very complacent with their current jobs, that they don't even think about switching roles or becoming self-employed. So before you established your company, you worked in public accounting, right? So why did you decide to make this step, and what were the challenges you faced along the way?
Yeah, I'll start with the steps. There's definitely a lot of challenges, and we continue to face new challenges every day, whether it be acquiring new customers, just becoming more of a household name in the industry and all that kind of stuff. So those are kind of the fun things that you get to overcome throughout the process. But I think what mainly led me to make the jump was just kind of the environment that I was in. I just thought I could grow a lot faster by myself. Big, corporate type deals. There's all the checks and balances. You got to wait your turn in order to get the promotion or get the raise that you want and all that kind of thing. So kind of the straw that broke the camel's back, so to speak, was at my last position, just basically before starting my own company. I was used to getting pretty large raises and bonuses and all that thing based on performance. And I know there was, COVID and all that fun stuff going on. But I think it was like something like a 2 or 3% raise after, helping grow 50% or whatever the numbers might be. So to me, the numbers never lined up in a lot of these situations. And I said, okay, I've taken a lot of what I've learned and what I think I can do, and I want to go, take a risk and try to build my own team and take some of those things and change them. So something unique that we have is that we kind of have a direct compensation model that is directly in line with what you're producing. So whether that be sales or professional services or helping sell products, anything like that, we're directly correlated to what you're bringing into the firm. And that's something I always firmly believed in when working at some of these other, companies in the past, and what I've seen my colleagues at other companies do as well. And I just thought that this was the best way to help grow a team where everyone's aligned towards the same goals, and you're really creating a team atmosphere rather than a bunch of people at the bottom working for a bunch of people at the top. So that's how I got to where I'm at now. And like I said, a lot of challenges along the way, right? What's the perfect recipe? How do you get everybody on board? How do you continue to drive that on a day-to-day basis? But at the end of the day, I think if all of our goals are aligned, it helps really grow the team in that direction. And the other thing kind of was, look at worst case scenario, right? So my worst case scenario was, if I go try to do this and it just all goes south and doesn't work out, I've still got the skills and kind of the technical knowledge to go work for any type of company that I was working at before. So to me, it was, okay, let's try this now. The best for anybody listening, the best time to try something new is now, right? The longer you wait, the less likely you are to do it. So if you're thinking about doing something, jump in right now and at least get started. But always have that worst case scenario in mind, always have a backup plan with anything that you do in life, right? You always have to know what are all the possible outcomes and be able to have a plan for anything that might occur. And you kind of just have to be agile with your approach and be flexible. And I think that's what definitely puts us apart, right? The flexibility that we're able to have in order to give a good experience to everybody that's working with me, as well as any clients that we're helping on a day-to-day basis.
Pretty sound advice. Hopefully, as many people as possible will be able to hear this. So as a non-financial person, I'm a bit maybe struggling to understand what your company is actually working on day to day. Could you kind of give me an explanation of your services and how you help companies improve their bottom line?
Yeah, definitely. So I'll say the shift is definitely changing currently with some of the things that we're doing. So for the last 2 years, 100% of our focus had been on just professional service consulting type work. So with that, what we're helping companies do is take their old financial or accounting system. A lot of times, simply thinking, a lot of people think of QuickBooks, right? So that's probably like the most popular, hey, I just started a business, I'm going to do QuickBooks, right? So a lot of what we do is actually taking people either off QuickBooks or if we can get them before they even get the QuickBooks bug, we'll put them straight on Business Central and really trying to help get them in the right direction. So at the end of the year or at the end of the month or whenever they're trying to look at their numbers, they can easily, click a few buttons, see real-time insights into how their business is doing, and ultimately look if they're, two main things. Are they profitable and is their cash flow sound, right? I mean, there's a million other things that we can help you with, but when clients are first getting into the system, those are kind of the two things they want to see. They want to see, do I have enough cash to keep going? And am I making some money, right? Because sometimes those things, as weird as it sounds, aren't directly correlated. But that's what we've been focusing on for the last 2 years. So really trying to optimize that experience to get companies really track any money that's going in and out of their accounts, whether that be paying vendors or collecting cash for customers. I think that's the easiest way to think about it. And then on top of that, what we've started to focus on in the last 6 months or so is really take that to the next level and build additional applications. Think of it like, the App Store on your iPhone or whatever. You log into Business Central now and you go to the Microsoft App Source and you download our apps, and those should help you work more efficiently in the system, whether it be, working with a dashboard that we've created to track all your AP and AR, or to help automate the, sending of documents, maybe the invoices or something like that. So we've got about 12 or 13 products right now on Microsoft's App Source, or that are about to be on Microsoft's App Source. And we just continue to build new ideas and publish those so that we can make that user experience in BC a lot easier for the users.
Mm-hmm. And what does your typical workday look like, and how do you juggle your workload and your family time, considering your role as the president at ERP Connect Consulting? And apart from that, what would you say is your biggest obstacle in mastering your work habits?
Yeah, honestly, every day's a little bit different, right? So this morning, woke up, got a quick workout in just to get the blood flowing, had a internal call to go over some development pieces for some of our applications, and now we're on a podcast, right? So later this afternoon, I've got a few customer calls, a few more internal things, and I've got another project kicking off here shortly this week. So every day's quite different. I think the biggest thing is just kind of rolling with the changes and being able to be flexible to tend to whatever the highest priority items are. Luckily, we have a fantastic team, so it helps being able to kind of divvy those things up across various folks on the team. But I haven't had a same 2 days in a row, probably in 2 years, just with all the different hats that I have to wear. What was the other follow-up question there?
So what was your biggest obstacle in mastering your work habits? Now that you said that you've not got 1-2 days that are the same, I think.
Yeah, I think the biggest obstacle is the unexpected, right? So right now I've got, 6 or 7 more meetings today, but you never know when somebody's going to call and need something. So really managing the unexpected and really looking at it from a priority standpoint. Say, does this need to be answered right now? Am I the only one who can answer it? Can I hand it off to somebody else who can answer it immediately, or can it wait until tomorrow, right? So I think those are some of the biggest things. When I know we'll get into the Clockify specifics, but time is always your biggest asset. It's the most finite, thing you have on this earth. You're not getting more of it. And really being able to prioritize those items and kind of look at what you need to do right now versus what can wait, and really trying not to get derailed. That's probably the hardest part of any day, right? Trying to look at things and say, okay, do I need to pick this up right now, or can it wait until later this afternoon? So that's probably the biggest hurdle or the biggest challenge that I face on any given day. And I'm trying to get better at it every day, probably just like everybody else is out there.
Exactly. And in a matter of 1 year, your company is going from 1 to 6 employees, right? And you've gained quite a good position in the market. So considering that so many companies fail within the first year, what did you guys do different?
Yeah, I think it all comes back to our people. So for the first, I'd say 4 or 5 months, it was just me. I had a few clients and we were just working, one-on-one. So that was very easy, just because, I know all the information coming in and out, right? And then as soon as things continue to get busier, we'd get busy, we'd hire somebody. We'd get busy, we'd hire somebody. We'd get busy, we'd hire somebody. And just naturally that progression has gotten to us where we're at today. And I think, again, the biggest attribution I can put on that is the people on our team. We've got some of the best people helping out with our clients. And we hear that every single day from our clients. I get so much feedback from them that says, hey, so-and-so helped us with this. The last person we were working with, it would take them weeks and you're doing it in days or even hours. So, I can't take a ton of credit for that. But I just really appreciate everybody that we're working with because they've been able to make this happen. And especially in a professional service setting, you can't do it without good people. Like I said earlier, I can only work so many hours in one day, and everybody wants to sleep a little bit. So just really being able to rely on other people and put your trust in them and know that they're doing a good job, just is really, I think, the differentiator. And how much ownership everyone has on the things that they do really makes my life so much easier, because I know that they're going to be accountable and that they're going to follow up, and I don't need to be the one following up because they have that accountability for their clients, and really that extreme ownership on everything they do on a day-to-day basis. So that's super helpful. And anybody looking to build a team, get the right people. It's better to grow slow, in my opinion, and have the right people than just hire people to hire people and grow, because I feel like a lot of times those are the things that implode. And you can really build for the long haul. And that's what we're doing here. We're trying to build for the long haul. It's not a quick 1-2 year thing that we want to turn around. We really want to build these things and continue to support our clients for the long term.
So yeah, focused on bringing the right people into your company is very important. I agree with you on that one.
100%. Yeah.
And your company developed a toolbox for Business Central, which is Microsoft's enterprise resource planning system. And basically that means you're helping businesses have a seamless experience via financial dashboards, advanced notifications, prepayments, things like that. So how did you come up with this service, and do you see it picking up among your clients?
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely picking up like wildfire. We actually, so there's 2 ways in the Microsoft world you can kind of deploy things. One's just on a case by case, we'll call it here, where you just install the app directly in their system, right? And then we can also deploy these global apps, which are available on Microsoft's App Store. So that's what we're focusing on now, is getting everything on that App Store. We actually had our first application submitted and approved last Monday. That was a couple months process to get that out there. And after kind of learning the ins and outs, we've been able to publish 4 more in just 2 weeks, right? So we had the code already done and everything documented and ready to go. So it was really just learning the internal Microsoft process, right? But in order from how we got from the very beginning to where we're at now, right? I think the biggest thing is just kind of identifying the gaps that Business Central had specifically, and starting to listen to both, client and customer feedback, as well as internal feedback from some of the things that we've been hearing for the last, 5, 10, however many it's been, years, depending on how long you've been a customer or consultant, right? And really taking that and trying to build something that would fit these gaps. So I know first we kind of looked internally. Some of the other folks on our team that we've worked with had, long lists of predefined questions or gaps that we had, and even had some code already written to solve some of these problems, right? So it was a matter of packaging those things up and really getting them out to the market. So I'd say step 1 is identify the gap, and step 2 is solve the problem, right? They're very simple concepts to grasp, but it's really the work that happens in between identifying and solving the problem that takes all the work, right? That's what takes weeks or maybe months to actually get to. And then the final piece is all the fun admin stuff that you need in order to actually publish something like that. So the last thing is really just aggregating client requests, right? And I think one of the main differentiators we have is a lot of companies will like to take all these client requests and do little one-off things, right? Where I charge you $20,000 to build yours, and then I charge the next person $20,000 and $30,000, whatever it might be to build. Whereas we're trying to aggregate these requests and put them on the app source and maybe charge $1,000 a year, right? So the clients are saving a ton of money. And our hope is that, we get, in that case, more than 20 clients to purchase it. That way we break even, right? So that's kind of our model, and really trying to lower the cost of ownership for the client, but having mass adoption across some of these tools that we think multiple organizations can really use and can really benefit from.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned quality, transparency, and efficiency as your 3 core values. So what do all of these 3 mean to you personally and professionally? Yeah,
first one is quality, right? Without quality, it's tough to run a business that has repeat customers, right? It's really easy to get a client in the door and get them to pay you one time. It's really hard to get a client to pay you the second time, and it's even harder to get them to pay you the third time, right? It actually gets harder, not more easy, as you go, which seems counterintuitive, but that makes us always put our best foot forward and always give that high quality, whether it be product or whether it be professional service, giving our advice or helping with support or implementation, right? So the quality piece is something that I've actually, had in the back of my mind my whole life. One of the things my dad would always tell me growing up, which was kind of a funny anecdote, was that, you always have enough time to do it over, but you never seem to have enough time to do it right the first time, right? Which kind of always put in my head, like, okay, yeah, like if it takes me an hour and a half to do it perfect, I'd rather spend the hour and a half than rush through it quick in 30 minutes or an hour. And then number one, you give it to whoever you're delivering it to, and then they send it back and they're not happy. And now it takes you another hour to do it right. So I think that was kind of the message behind that. And I've always used that to try to get it right the first time, which I think always leads back to that quality piece. The transparency piece is pretty easy and self-explanatory, right? I think it builds trust in your client base, and whether it be internal or external, just being transparent always helps build that foundation and build that relationship, whether it's good news or bad news. Good news is easy to be transparent about. I think it's the bad news sometimes that people want to hide or shove under the rug, right? But I like to do bad news early, right? It's going to come out eventually. So let's look at it and take it now and really identify it, why it went bad, and let's fix it as soon as possible, right? I get on the phone a lot where, somebody will be like, hey, we need to do this, okay, here's the solution. If you want to talk about it for 30 minutes, we can talk about, like, we already know what went wrong and we know how to fix it. So if you just want to have, a therapy session where we talk about it for 30 minutes about what went wrong, I'm happy to do so. But, I think the best use of the time sometimes is just to continue to push forward. And I think that leads to the last piece, which is that efficiency piece, right? Efficiency doesn't always mean doing it as fast as you can. I think it's a combination of doing it quickly, but also with that high quality. So I like to put all these together, because efficiency without quality is no good, right? And even sometimes quality without efficiency can be bad, because it can take you a lot longer than it needs to. So I think the big piece there is always work smarter, never try to work harder, right? Let's use tools in place, right? Like we've got Clockify, what we're going to talk about here in a second. I know that's a great tool. We've got Business Central. If you're trying to do your financials, that's a great tool. We've got a lot of great tools. So anytime I see somebody doing something manually that I'm like, hey, we can do this quicker or faster, whatever needs to happen more efficiently, those are the type of recommendations I'm going to call out, because I hate seeing people try to use the wrong tools to solve the right problems. I want people using the right tools in order to really save time, because again, it all comes down to time. Time's our biggest asset. And if we can save some time, it will free us up to do a lot more activities, whether they be value add for our company or hanging out with your family and getting some good time, with your family. So I think those are absolutely crucial, and what we really stand on for our pillars of our business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Efficiency is very important, and working smartly, not hardly, as you said, for the sake of working hard. So
Yeah.
then now that you've mentioned productivity and being efficient, so how do you stay on top of things, and what do you think about productivity and time management in general terms? For example, how do you assign tasks and how do you set priorities?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm a big to-do list guy, and sometimes to-do lists even can get really out of hand. So I don't know if you can see it on this, but I've got a sticky note here. It's kind of blurry,
Bit
but that's
blurred, but
okay.
it's not that.
It says today's top 3 on it. So I use this every single day. My to-do list usually has 20 or 30 things on it, but it's all
Wow,
about
20 or
prioritizing.
30.
Yeah, so it's just a constant cycle, right? And it's just like, where do you add them in terms of priority, and where can you help delegate? So I always try to use that, where again, it's called today's top 3. And I literally write the 3 things down that I want to get done today. And at the end of the day, I look, is my day successful? It's successful if I got those 3 things done. I don't know what's coming. I don't know what's going to be in my email after we hang up here today. There's probably going to be something. But by really hyper focusing and prioritizing those top 3, I know those will get done. And as soon as those top 3 are done, I crumple that Post-it note up, throw it in the trash, and create a new top 3, right?
Mm-hmm.
So kind of always looking for that feedback loop, and really taking a step back in the crazy world that we have today with everything going on, with everybody asking you to do things from all angles, right? And putting those top 3 into place in order to ensure that you knock those out, because those should be your top 3 priorities every single day. And again, that helps kind of knock out those crucial tasks and then move on to the next set of 3. So we've got a lot of internal tools that, will aggregate all of our different to-dos and stuff like that. Like we got a project management tool called Smartsheet. We've got some of our own internal things in Business Central. We use shared inboxes in Office 365 and that kind of thing to help manage. But again, there can be a lot of clutter. And I'm a big proponent of writing down on a piece of paper, because it really forces you to do it, whether it be your top 3 or your top 5. Really just creating a small to-do list that's easy to manage, right? I think it kind of is like setting goals, right? If you set your goals so big that you can never reach them, they're not really goals, right? Goals have to be somewhat attainable. They can be reached, but they have to be somewhat attainable. So if you say, hey, here's my to-do list of 20 things, you're never going to finish all 20 of those in a day, right? So really focusing on what can you realistically get done today helps me manage my time and manage my priorities on a day-to-day basis.
Mm-hmm. And in your company's website service section, a few technologies and productivity tools that you use daily in your business, and that your clients also use. So Clockify is one of the tools that you list here. So how did you discover Clockify, and what did you use before Clockify to improve your time management?
Well, I'm a little embarrassed to what I used before Clockify, but I will share. We started using Clockify probably 3 months in after I started my business, and one of my colleagues, Stefan, actually introduced me to the tool. He had a prototype of a Clockify integration with Business Central, and he's a Business Central consultant. He knows I'm a Business Central consultant. One of our colleagues actually put us in touch and said, hey, Ben, I know you're working on this professional service kind of like model in order to really build out like a standard tech stack for these companies. And he's working on, this Clockify integration, which I think could be a huge game changer in what you're trying to do. So I said, yeah, let's talk. So I didn't even know about Clockify before that. This was mid 2021, or actually probably towards the end of 2021. And I was literally doing things in Excel. Granted, it was only me at this time. So my big thing is implementing the tools before you need them, because it's so much easier to onboard others, right? If you've got 10 employees all working in Excel and then you try to get them to go to Clockify, it's still possible and probably not too difficult, but it's a lot easier if they start on their first day and you say, we use Clockify to track our time, right? So I wanted to get something in place before I even hired my first person, in order to get that. So if anybody's, looking for something like this, there is a pre-built Clockify to Business Central integration. It works seamlessly, and it probably saves me 4 hours per week now, just with the size of team we had. If I had to do this manually, it would literally take me probably an entire day almost. If not, I know it would take 4 hours because it used to take me 2 when it was just me in Excel. And we've 10x'd since then. So yeah, huge time saver. And huge thanks to Stefan for turning me on to that. I couldn't imagine our organization without Clockify, and even without the Business Central integration. Because again, basically what it does is takes all the Clockify time and the entries and puts it directly into an invoice in my financial system that then I just click a button and it emails all of my invoices to my clients. So literally just make sure everybody puts in their time and gets it approved. And then next thing you know, they're all off, into all our clients' emails. And then you just hope that they pay you quickly.
Yeah. And which features of Clockify do you find most useful?
My favorite one of all time is the calendar integration. I manage everything through my calendar. So, I've got, this meeting that I can tag as administrative, and then the next meeting I might have, a client meeting that needs to be billable. So really being able to use that. And at the end of the day, go into Clockify and literally just click each calendar, calendar event and basically transition it into a billable client time entry or an administrative entry that just sits in Clockify to track like how much time everybody's working. So the calendar is absolutely the number one thing that I use. And even if I have an administrative task, if I am, creating a document or loading some data or something for a client, even though I'm not physically on the phone with anybody, I'll actually put a 30-minute time block on my calendar that just says XYZ client. We did, load customer data or load Clockify data or whatever it might be. And then at the end of the day, I don't have to go remember everything I did, because on a crazy day, it's going to be really hard to remember 15 different meetings you had. Rather, they're already on my calendar. I just go click them. They create time entries and Clockify manages it all for me. There's a ton of other features that we use in Clockify specifically. But if somebody said, Ben, give me a sales pitch and only name one thing as to why I should buy Clockify, it would be that. And it would be because it saves me so much time. If for anybody that works in professional service, your least favorite thing is entering time at the end of the day or at the end of the week or whatever it might be, just because you just, by that time you want your day to be over. The last thing you want to do is go spend 15 minutes and enter all your time manually. So Clockify makes it very easy to streamline that, both from my end, right, but also from the user's end. So I tried to put it in that light and say, okay, how can I get my people to enter their time quicker so that I don't have to chase people down to say, hey, can you enter your time? Can you enter your time? Can you enter your time? And if you do need to do that, Clockify has great features to do automatic reminders to remind people to submit their time. So I don't have to follow up with anyone. Clockify does that for me, which I've seen really good returns on that in terms of how quickly people are putting their time in. And I'd say the last thing on this is the real-time insights it gives me, right? I look, there's probably not going to be any time in my Clockify right now because it's Monday. But if I look tomorrow, I can see real time how we're doing throughout the week. So I don't get to Friday and say, hey guys, we billed $100,000 last week, but we only did 50,000 this week. Like, where's everybody? Right. So being able to track that real time. And then if somebody doesn't, have any hours on Monday, if they're not out, I can say, oh, are we rolling off these projects? It helps me from a project management standpoint to say, okay, well, we just sold some new projects. So looks like you're, not as heavily utilized anymore. So let's get you on something new. I don't have to wait until Friday or Saturday for everybody to submit their time to actually see that. I can just use the dashboards that you guys have pre-built, which I love. It makes my life super easy, which I appreciate.
I'm glad to hear that. That's amazing feedback. And can you reveal what you've got in store as a company in the near future?
We've got a lot of things in store in the near future. Like I said, we've got our first app published last Monday. We've got 4 more apps published since then, and we've probably got another 10 or so that are on the horizon. So not published yet, but kind of under that review process right now. And our goal, again, is every day we're looking for ways to increase efficiencies within Dynamics 365 Business Central. And I think those are the things that you're going to continue to see from our offerings, whether that be, a post on LinkedIn or an app on AppSource. I think those are the big things to come for our organization and really start to become a household name, right? There's a lot of other competition in the space. There's a lot of different apps out there. I'm biased, but I think we're doing things differently. And I think that's going to make us a household name where, you buy Business Central and you buy some of ERP Connect's extensions just because they're so crucial to what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. So those are my goals for the next year or two, and just to continue to improve that experience for anybody using the tools out there.
Well, thank you for explaining like all of the details and nooks and crannies to somebody who's really unfamiliar with your industry niche and how you stay on top of your to-do list. Thank you so much for taking part in this interview. We really appreciate your time and everything that you shared with us today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me here today.
Thank you.
Awesome. Have a good one.
You too, Ben. Take care.
All right. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. We hope you enjoyed today's interview. Make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on social media.